and like just understanding that, man, I'm built different, period. I was built different, man.
Y'all, not Michael B. Jordan telling Steve Harvey, told you so. So, you probably heard by now that Steve Harvey's wife Marjorie was allegedly getting busy with Steve's bodyguard and personal chef behind his back. And yes, Steve denied it and claimed he and Marjorie are just fine. But people aren't really taking their word. And honestly, I don't think Marjorie and Steve will ever divorce, because let's be real, they're both too old for that, and there's too much money involved. But many wouldn't put it past Marjorie to cheat and past Steve to forgive her. Anyways, y'all remember how when Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan broke up and both Steve and Marjorie started shading MBJ in public?
Yeah.
I feel fine.
Can't stand you.
I'm fine. Ain't changed my life now.
Steve also recently implied in an interview that Lori made the right choice by dumping MBJ, and rumors are going around that Marjorie meddled in Lori's relationship because MBJ wanted Lori to sign a prenup, and Marjorie said, hell no. Well, sources close to MBJ are now saying that Michael always thought Steve's relationship advice was a bunch of BS because he allows Marjorie to walk all over him. Also, knowing what we now know about Steve's history and how he did both his ex-wives dirty because of Marjorie, well, sorry to this man, karma may be slow, but it's never late. So how does Michael B. Jordan feel about his cheating scandal involving Marjorie? Let's get into it.
That was the mentality always been. I wasn't waiting on nobody to give me anything.
In recent weeks, explosive reports have been circulating online that Steve Harvey's wife of 16 years, Marjorie, may have cheated on him with their household staff. Several sources claimed that Marjorie engaged in affairs, one allegedly with Steve's bodyguard, Big Boom, and another with Steve's personal chef. Meanwhile, rumors also started swirling that Michael B. Jordan, Lori Harvey's ex, always held doubts about Steve and Marjorie's supposedly ideal marriage. MBJ apparently believed that the dating advice Steve and Marjorie were giving Lori was insincere, and insiders familiar with the dynamics of the Harvey family suggest that Marjorie played a role in shaping Lori's cold and calculated approach to dating. But given Marjorie's history, this recent development isn't shocking at all. While Marjorie Harvey is now living the high life, before she met Steve, her life was considerably less lavish, to say the least. Marjorie and Steve's paths initially crossed in 1990 at a comedy club, and Steve later described it as love at first sight. But after a few weeks of dating, Steve and Marjorie decided to part ways, and Steve later alluded that Marjorie dumped him because his money wasn't right yet. However, their paths crossed again in 2005, and this time, Steve had achieved success with the Steve Harvey Show, which prompted Marjorie to reconsider their relationship. Now, I want to point out that Steve was coming out of his second marriage to Mary Shackelford at this point, and Mary alleged that Steve had been unfaithful to her with Marjorie while they were still married. And according to Mary, Steve took their son Winton with him and turned him against her, while also using his money and influence to manipulate the legal system.
He took my Winton. Took my Winton from me. He turned my son against me. Had me evicted from our house. Thrown out. All the businesses, all the money, the cars. At a moment when I was down and devastated, he maneuvered everything. He manipulated the courts, everything against me.
However, it's widely thought that Marjorie orchestrated this entire scheme and persuaded Steve to cut all ties with Mary. In fact, Mary recently directly called out Marjorie for her manipulative actions and claimed that Marjorie deliberately undermined her relationship with Winton.
I know that as a mother, if I was ever in a position to where I had to be in charge of somebody else's child, I definitely make sure they have a great relationship with that child. But I just don't see how Marjorie, in particular, can call herself a mother to her own children and deliberately try to sabotage my relationship with my son. I don't really get that, because personally, you know, even if it was a vengeance vendetta thing, it's like, who did harm to who?
But see, Marjorie's questionable actions started long before she became Mrs. Harvey. Before meeting Steve, Marjorie had been married twice. Her first marriage was to drug kingpin Jim Townsend, and Marjorie's alleged involvement in her husband's illegal activities drew the attention of the FBI and DEA. Allegedly, these agencies informed Jim that unless he cooperated with them, Marjorie would face her own set of charges due to the substantial evidence of her own illegal activities. Jim then agreed to collaborate with the authorities and was eventually indicted for trying to purchase 40 kilos of nose candy. He was sentenced to a life prison term and served over 26 years before receiving a pardon from President Obama in 2017. Marjorie, on the other hand, managed to avoid legal consequences, and she divorced Jim within 5 years of his imprisonment. Shortly after her divorce from Jim, Marjorie entered into a relationship with Darnell Woods, who also happened to be involved in drug dealing. Despite these circumstances, Marjorie went on to marry Darnell in the early 2000s, and they welcomed one child, Lori. It's not clear when Marjorie dumped Darnell, but we know that she reconnected with Steve in 2005. And once she saw that Steve's rise to fame was on the horizon, she quickly ended her marriage with Darnell and decided to give Steve another chance. In June 2007, Steve and Marjorie tied the knot, and Steve formally adopted Lori as well as Marjorie's 2 kids from her marriage to Jim, Jason and Morgan. Now, Steve himself is a father to 4 more biological children, his twin daughters Brandy and Carly, and son Broderick from his first marriage to Marcia, and a son Winton from his second marriage to Mary. And while Steve and Marjorie these days love to brag about their picture-perfect blended family, there's been a significant amount of speculation suggesting that their family dynamics are not so perfect after all. Recent reports indicate that there's a lot of tension behind closed doors because apparently Steve and Marjorie's main focus is on promoting Lori and pushing her into the spotlight while ignoring the other kids. According to one source who spoke to Radar Online, Marjorie has the most influence within the Harvey household, as she is said to be actively coaching Lori on navigating her romantic life and her career choices. Steve did the right thing, adopting Marjorie's kids, and loves them like his own, but there's a lot of dissension among the blended Harvey clan, the source said, and that Steve's wives and exes can butt heads at times because Marjorie rules the roost at the Harvey house. In addition to that, recent reports have emerged that Michael B. Jordan never warmed up to Marjorie, and he apparently felt that no matter what efforts he made for Lori, they were never enough in Marjorie's eyes. Allegedly, Marjorie frequently interfered in Lori's and Michael's relationship, and following their breakup, Marjorie shared a video featuring actress Jennifer Lewis, which fans interpreted as shade aimed at MBJ.
You sit in shit too long and stop smelling. Come the f out of there.
Now, I know you're wondering, why would Marjorie think that the Michael B. Jordan is not good enough for her daughter? Well, while nothing has been confirmed, rumors are circulating that MBJ had expressed a desire to marry Lori and suggested a prenup. However, it's said that Marjorie rejected this idea and told MBJ she doesn't believe in prenups. And this allegedly led to Marjorie persuading Lori to end her relationship with Michael and move on. Now, as for the recent rumors about the cheating scandal involving Marjorie and Steve's employees, sources close to MBJ are saying he always suspected something like this would happen because Steve is too weak and Marjorie knows he will never leave her no matter what she does. During his speech at the recent business conference in Atlanta, Steve slammed the rumors about Marjorie and claimed that his marriage is fine.
Yeah. One thing about me coming here, I've always loved black people. I've always loved my people. Y'all belong to me and I belong to y'all. Good and the bad. Before I get started, just let me say, I'm fine. Marjorie's fine. I don't know what y'all doing, but find something else to do. Cause we fine. Okay. Lord have mercy. Man. I sure wish I could cut.
However, fans are saying it sounds like Steve is trying a little too hard to convince himself that everything is fine. And they're speculating that Marjorie probably did cheat and that Steve forgave her. One fan said, Steve Harvey is the type that would say, "It's my fault for working too much. I wasn't there all the time." And she is the type that will answer, "I know." As for MBJ, his fans are just happy that he got away from the Harvey family and their messy drama. Totally dodged a bullet, one fan said, Marjorie is and will always be a user and abuser. MB Jordan is too classy for this family. They would have brought him down. Money can buy you things, but it cannot buy you class. But how do you feel about all this mess? Do you believe the cheating rumors about Marjorie are true? And do you think Marjorie meddled in MBJ and Lori's relationship? Let me know in the comments, and don't miss out on this next video.